What's up, guys? This is day 2 of becoming a better man, becoming a better person, Day 2 of my self-improvement journey. Just got on the highway, got done with work. It is 5:45, roughly, 5:43. All of my clocks in my car are completely different times. Don't ask me why. I got my pre-workout. Yes, it is in a white cup. I don't know. It's just what I do. It's been nice. It's not too bad. It's purple. I am kind of afraid that the cops think I'm riding dirty, if that ever happens, but who knows, man. But that's just something funny I thought of. A couple thoughts on my mind real quick. I didn't even realize that pre-workout has calories, or at least like pump free. I don't know if caffeine, I imagine caffeine ones do too. But I did not realize how many calories. I thought it'd be like 20 to 40. It's like 80 for the pre-workout that I use. Golly, bro. Anyways, I just realized a lot of the ominous, or I don't know if that's the right word, but kind of the calories that sneak up on you. So one thing I would suggest is taking fish oil. I'm sure you've heard that everywhere. But I mean, fish oil has calories. A serving of fish oil, at least for me, the ones that I use, is about 30 calories. And I usually take those about twice a day. I usually take 1 to 2 pills, though. I don't usually take the full serving. But that's 110 calories that I didn't even think about tracking. So that's just something I just came to my mind today. A resolution, either one of those words. That came to my mind. It's kind of just something I was thinking about, and might have asked why I use pump free. I use pump free because I work out late in the day. I find that, especially if I were to use caffeine and I'd be up way too late in the day, I would end up killing a lot of my next day. And just with how physical my job is, which I'm not saying I'm the most physical job. It's not like construction level physical, but I'm relatively out and about, a whole lot more out and about than I would say the average cubicle worker. I'm sure there's exceptions, but you understand what I'm saying. And I find that my energy just plows. And guess what happens if work energy plows? Oh, sorry, dude. I'll get over. Only taking forever. Anyways. Find when my work energy is not able to stay throughout the day, then obviously it's hard to bring the kind of intensity that you want to bring, or especially that I want to bring at the end of the day. Which I'm not saying even with a full night's rest that I can bring that kind of intensity, because there is days. And I don't think there's a problem with having days where you can't really bring the intensity that you want to. I mean, you're still there, If you told me I can't bring the intensity today, so I'm not going to go, what do you mean you're not going to go? Like, I'd much rather you just go. Why not go and get something instead of not go at all and get nothing? Even that little bit, like, it all compounds eventually. Like, you think about investing. If you invest $50 a month, it's only $50. It's not anything, But over time, it becomes something. 10% on a yearly average return of an S&P 500, 50% or 10%, of 50 is $5. And then you have 10% on that, which is $5 and I think 50 cents. Forgive my math if I'm wrong there, but you understand. The more and more, the more it compounds and the better it gets. Goodness gracious, people. Sorry. You can see that, like, I would much rather go if I know that I can't bring the intensity today, but I'm going to try my hardest. And sometimes even just going, you end up bringing that, intensity. I've had days where I walk in there and I'm like, man, it's going to be a slugger. I'm just going to get punched in the face. I am not ready for this workout. And then I get 1 or 2 sets in it and I'm like, I'm feeling good, And then And then it's a great workout. Like, I've had times where I go in and I'm like, this is going to be a terrible workout. And then I go in, I bring as much intensity as I possibly can, you know, use the time that I have, you know, zone in, lock in, you know, as cliche as that sounds. I go in and I leave and I'm like, holy cow, I just had a great workout, you know? And I feel like that helps me kind of push through it as well, just knowing that you either have it or you can have it or you won't. If there's days where even if you're able to push yourself as mentally as possible, you're still not able to bring that intensity, but you still brought it there. And I would say I work more in the lower rep range. I work more in the 6 to 10 rep range. And so I might not be able to hit the 6 reps. And so let's say I go I pick up 90-pound dumbbells and I'm like, oof, I don't know, man. This is going to be rough. And then I get it. And I can barely hit 6, you know. I hit 5 or 4 and I'm like, this is going to be rough. Now, it might help after a while. I mean, your joints warm up and you start to feel better, and then the next few exercises you can kind of bring it. But if you don't have those first ones, man, it can kind of kill you. But forgive me, I'm trying to keep this as unedited as possible. This is just a big blabber about going even though you don't feel like it, you know? You can always adjust the intensity. Intensity is just depending on the weight. You can up your intensity with weight, or you can up your intensity in reps. So if I'm only feeling those 90s for 6, well, then I might need to up the intensity rep wise. So I might drop down to the 80s but hit 8 to 10, which will give me a similar stimulus with not as much mental requirement, you know, like it's all physical. And a lot of times you're more mentally exhausted, at least depending on your job, I guess. You're more mentally exhausted than you are physically exhausted. So a lot of the times it's just your mental playing that fun game of, oh, you can't do this, come on, you know, I don't want to do this is too heavy, you know, this doesn't feel good. And then you get it, you tell your mind, no, I don't care, like, my body can do this, you know, so what am I to worry about? And then you kind of get in that groove, you get yourself set, and it's a good workout. I don't know. It's just a whole big ramble about getting in there, man. If you don't feel like that you can do it, or you're telling yourself, man, I gotta lose weight before I get in the gym, or I gotta do this and I gotta do that and I gotta do this and I gotta do that. Now, if it's not an injury, you know, obviously injury is kind of prone to that, but I would say that's also circumstantial. You know, if depending on the injury, you could technically still hit the gym. Maybe not at all as well, but you know, case by case. You can't just go in there with an injured shoulder and send it. I've done that before, and it didn't work out well. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. I mean, you always need to, don't take anybody's advice without, there's always I'm trying to think of the word here. It's always on a case-by-case basis. There's a word for it, but I can't really think of it. But you need to apply it to yourself. If I tell you a bench exercise is good, and I'm 5'7", I think, 5'7" and some change, or somewhere around there, and I have these super short arms, and you know, bench press comes easy, and then you are maybe like 6 foot some change, and your range of motion is just so insane that it's just not a practical exercise, then you don't have to do it. know. It's going to be more painful, possibly. It's going to be not as stimulating. So, I mean, find out what works for you. I mean, there's no set in stone plan. I mean, there is general ideas. I would say if you can kind of understand the mechanics of your muscles, there's certain mechanical points where certain muscles are stronger. The only thing I can really think of in this moment is something like your triceps and your biceps. I mean, your biceps have 3 different parts of the muscle: your long head, your short head, and your brachialis, I believe. And those all require some sort of different tension or different area. You get what I'm saying? It's hard for me to articulate my words here. But you don't just hit a short head. Like, if I go into an exercise, I'm like, all right, this is bicep curls. So that might be a little bit of both, a little bit of everything. But you might hit more of an isolated curl or you might hit the ones where you're on a bench and you're 45 degrees out, and that's more on your outer long head here. Whereas your shorter is more that inner, this kind of 45 degree angle inward to you, in more of an inward curl, I guess, like an easy bar curl. And you can apply that to any version of that. So, like, let's say you don't like dumbbells, so then you hit cables. If you don't like cables, you hit dumbbells. But just because somebody's like cables are better than dumbbells doesn't mean you have to hit cables. You know, there's plenty of times where I'm like, I don't want to hit cables, I want to hit dumbbells. And that also might come in with variety too. I mean, if one day I'm like, man, I'm tired of cables, I want to hit some dumbbells, I want to hit some easy bars, I go hit easy bars. Granted, I hit easy bars on a cable, so it kind of merges that together, but you get what I'm saying. I realize that I'm kind of all over the place, but I don't see a problem with it, man. This is day 2. This is me just trying to be me, you know, trying to put myself out there, get better on the camera so then I can make better content and eventually articulate my words in a way that is understandable, that can be helpful and apply advice. You know, it's an ever improving journey. So yeah, man. Anyways, so I usually have about a 30 to 40 minute drive home. I'm about 12 minutes deep. Get on the highway, pretty much ride the highway all the way to the gym, and then from there I go home. But unfortunately, with the daylight savings time, it's now pretty dark out every time I go home. Usually by the time I'm at the gym, it's dark. So that kind of sucks. It really, I would say after a while, it kind of gets under your skin about it, because you're like, man, I have no time. It feels like you don't have time. There's a couple times, or relatively recently, where I've woken up and I've been at work honestly pretty early, and I'm like, it doesn't feel like I'm early because the sun's out. Before, whenever I was getting there early, it'd be relatively dark out. So a couple other things I want to go over just with my self-improvement, situation here. Just want to talk about your typical like dopamine detox. Everybody says dopamine detox, everybody says blah blah blah. You hear this word all the time. It might be a special word, but I would say, in my personal experience, having basically done a dopamine detox, in a sense, that it does work. So I can't remember very vividly if I went over it during my first video, but I did find when I deleted all my short form content. Now, granted, you'll still catch me, mouth breathing on YouTube Shorts every once in a while, but that's part of the deal. Fortunately, I'll catch myself. I have to catch myself a lot of the times when I'm scrolling on YouTube Shorts. Sometimes I'll catch a short and they'll be like, ooh, I really like that content. And then I'll scroll again, and I'll scroll again like an addict. I'll sit there and be like, "Ooh, what's the next video going to be like? Is this next video going to be entertaining? Am I going to like this next video?" And that's the trap. That is the trap. It's like the same thing. Look, I don't know what you guys are doing, but if you are addicted to, I should say the P word, but you're probably always scrolling for the next hit. You're always looking for that next video that's going to top the last video you watched, which I've been there. That is a trap that I've been entangled in as well. And I would say that's kind of where those two worlds overlap for me. I realized I watched a video on quitting pornography, and the video was like, delete Instagram, and I had heard that before, and I'm like, whatever, you're lying to me. And I think it all raveled into, and I'm gonna get off on a quick tangent here. I did watch a video about why you can't. It's something along the lines of why you keep falling into a pit, and that pit for me would be watching pornography for days on end. So I'd go for a streak, and then I'd fall into this pit, and I'm like, and I wouldn't stop, and I wouldn't stop for like a week, and I'm like, whoa, dude, this has gotten way out of control. Like, this has gotten bad. And so I'd stop. I stopped for a week, and then I'd get on a good streak. I'd be feeling good workouts, good everything, and then I'd fail again. And then not only did I fail, I fell into a hole. I dug myself deep, and I go on that week-long thing, or 2 or 3 days. And when you're trying to not do it at all, that 2 or 3 days feels like a rut. And I watched this video, and it was all about, hopefully I can at least link it or post it or show the thumbnail, but it was under the concept of you're constantly, at least with temptation, in a lot of struggles in your life. Maybe it's you finally wanting to get on that self-improvement journey, but you're always pushing on the hill. You're pushing on a slope, and the rock you're pushing, I'm sure you guys have seen I believe it's a Greek philosopher or a Greek god, I cannot remember unfortunately, but that is pushing that hill, that round rock up the hill constantly, and he has to keep it pushed up, otherwise something negative will happen. To be honest with you, I don't know the rest of that story, but I do know that he has to constantly push that rock up. And the metaphor or the teaching was like, look, once you fall into that rut, it wasn't just one thing and you fall. It was multiple things. So you might you might look on Instagram and you might see this hot girl and you're like, oh, she's hot. And that might be at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. But you might get home 6 hours later, and guess what? That looking at that girl on Instagram might have caused you to do this and let your guard down and cause you to keep slipping, and then eventually, guess what? At the end of the day, you jerked off again. And I found that to be exactly what I was doing. I would scroll on TikTok, scroll on Instagram, and see these funny reels, and then eventually I'd get the one AI video, or I'd get the one Instagram model or whatever, or insert random hot girl every once in a while, and I'd think, oh, she's pretty cute, she's pretty hot, I'd sexualize her, and then, which I'm not proud to say, but that's what would happen. I'd think about it, and then I'd go on with my day, and then I'd continue on my day, and I might loosen up a little bit. I might not, I might be like, oh, whatever, like I wanted to lose weight, but I'm really hungry, so I'm gonna eat some chips, or I'm going to eat a little snack, just something to kind of itch that craving. And then at the end of the day, I'd hit a workout, and I might slack on that workout. I might be like, okay, well, I don't really want to hit cardio. I wouldn't hit cardio, and then guess what? I'd go home, be tempted, lose it. I'd lose the battle immediately. I wouldn't call on the Lord. I wouldn't do anything. And I realized that was my slope. And then relatively recently, I failed again. And I realized that it was food. So my friend might offer me a chip, a couple chips, and be like, "Ooh, I haven't had these chili cheese Fritos or whatever in a minute. That sounds really good." So then, guess what? I'd eat those chili cheese Fritos. I'm like, man, I have pretty scheduled meal times at this point. My body is kind of used to it now. I eat breakfast in the morning. I eat 2 eggs. I eat a ratio of protein, and then around 11, I eat some strawberries and blueberries, and then that holds me over till about lunch, around 1:30 to 2. Because I realized when I ate my lunch too early in the day that my workout would suffer, because I wouldn't have any carbs and I really wouldn't be too full. So now I've waited for 1 to 2, and then that's seemed to help my workouts a little bit, as well as consistently making sure you get your creatine in. That's a big one. But I found when I fall into this slope, it always started with a minor thing. Something I didn't think would hurt too much. And that was food. And I realized that. Because I especially in that video, they were like, when you fall into your next rut, look back what happened. So for you, that might be, oh, well, I binge ate. Okay, well, what happened? Maybe it can literally be anything. Anything that brings your brain, I would imagine anything that brings your brain dopamine, because once you get it on that quick hit, it just wants to continue it, and it doesn't want to stay disciplined, because it's like, I can just do this. This sounds way more nice, entertaining, and way better. But in reality, in the end, it's not better. Because if you look at yourself where you just chase dopamine the whole time, you look at yourself in 10 to 15 years and you're like, holy crap, this sucks. I hate my life, You might look forward and you're 50 to 60 pounds heavier and you're like, holy crap, I'm obese, I'm overweight. You might even be there now. Shoot, I'm there now. I let myself chase cheap dopamine, and now I'm fat, and now I have to reel myself back in. I have to learn these lessons. I have to learn that I can't even give myself an inch. I can't even give myself an inch, bro. Because my mind will take it, and it'll just run with it, bro. My friends would give me a chip. I'd get a chip. And then I'd go eat a bag of chips, because I'm like, ooh, that bag of chips tasted good. And, I need carbs for my workout. I justify it to myself, man. And then I justify eating those chips. I justify, oh, well, at least I got my protein in, carbs and calories, whatever, I'll be fine. I'll just make sure it at least hits below my calorie goal, which, that technically does work. But when I'm trying to defeat more than just the fat on my body, I'm trying to defeat the temptation in my mind. I'm trying to desexualize my brain. I'm trying to get my dopamine back. I'm trying to get my motivation back. I'm trying to build this YouTube channel. I'm trying to do all these things in my life, and guess what? I have no energy because I chase cheap dopamine. And I realized that, and I found even when I gave myself an inch, I gave myself even a singular chip, and my tongue tasted whatever, insert random chip that you really like. It could be, I don't know, kettle corn or kettle cooked jalapeno chips, which are gas, chili cheese Fritos. It could be freaking Flamin' Hot Cheetos. I don't know, man. But you give yourself that inch, and then that might fall down into, I realize that it's kind of hard for me to get my medium steps here, because I would say I just know the main catalyst for the downfall of a lot of my temptation is food. It was food. And even today, my coworker this is why chili cheese Fritos are on my mind. He's like, you want one? And I was like, man, that sounds pretty good, but guess what? I know in the back of my mind, that after I eat that, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to be like, ooh, I don't really know if I want to hit cardio today. And then guess what? I'm not going to hit cardio. And then I'm going to be like, man, I failed. I can't believe it. And I'm going to self-sabotage myself. And then guess what? I'm going to go jerk off, and that's the cycle. And I guess that's my medium step is I'd go and, I want to lose fat, and guess what? I'd eat this chip or I'd eat this snack, I'd eat these cookies or whatever. I'd take a little bite and then I'd eat more and I'd eat more and I'd be like, oh, I don't really want to hit cardio. Cardio sounds boring. Cardio doesn't sound fun. Cardio hurts. And then I'd go home and I would do nothing positive but work out and work for the day, and I'd go watch porn. And that's your cycle. That's the biggest resolution I've come to relatively recently. Realizing that you cannot give your mind an inch. You stick by your morals, you stick by what you need to fix, and you need to have a strong reason of why. Which, I wouldn't say my reason's too strong. I want to be fit, so then I can use that as a launch pad to find out where I need to be in life. Because I know whenever I get fit, I will be more confident. I will be able to focus better. I will be in a less clouded headspace and I want to use that as a launch pad for something. Whether that be a coaching business, which seems pretty cliche at this point, or overdone, but only God knows, But I know it can be a launch pad. Maybe it's some other business. But I plan on taking this YouTube channel through that process, But I want to just say, which I just realized I got off on a huge tangent, that steep slope, think of your temptation, think of your day. Whenever you fall into your next rut, maybe you do the thing you want to do. So maybe that's not porn, but that's food. Maybe you binge eat. Well, why did I binge eat? Oh, because I let myself, earlier today I was on my meal prep and then I saw this and then I let myself, I was like, man, I self-reasoned myself into thinking it was okay to take a bite. And then guess what? Taking a bite turns into eating the whole thing. Eating the whole thing turns into one more. And then what? Then you're like, oh crap! I gotta make sure that my calorie goals are good. So then you kind of climb it down. Maybe you have lunch meal prep, and so then you eat your lunch, and then you're like, okay, well, it's either time to work out or you've already worked out in the morning, kind of thing. And you've already worked out, or you haven't, and you go and you're like, okay, well, I wanted to lose weight. But man, am I hungry, So you already let your body have that little bit of dopamine earlier, and your body's like, "Hey, we'll be fine." There's always tomorrow. See, but the thing is, there really isn't, because if you don't do it today, what are you gonna do tomorrow? You're just gonna do the same thing. If you don't change it, it's not gonna change. If you don't try your hardest to change problem in your life, or to change the things that you're doing that cause issues in your life, then they're just going to keep causing issues. But back to my thing with the dopamine and doing the dopamine detox, I did find that I watched a video on a guy I felt trustworthy with, and a guy that was pretty chill and that I can relate to. It didn't feel what's the word? Fake. But he was like, you need to delete the apps. And I realized, and I self-reflected. I'm like, holy crap, that's a big reason why. Obviously, but I had Safari on the bottom of my phone. It was in the little hotbar thing. And I was like, okay, well, I know even when I look at that, sometimes I'm tempted. So guess what? I moved the Safari app 3 pages away. And then I deleted Instagram, I deleted Threads or whatever. I deleted TikTok. TikTok I deleted a couple months prior just because I realized how bad it was rotting my brain. And then I was like, okay, well, Facebook should be good. And I get on Facebook, immediate friend suggestion, some woman that's pretty cute, you know, pretty nice looking woman. And I'm like, okay, cool. Looks like we're deleting Facebook too. Deleted Facebook, deleted Messenger. All I have on my thing is YouTube and Snapchat, which apparently Snapchat has like a TikTok-esque thing, which I've never used. I only ever use Snapchat to continue streaks with my homies. So I was never tempted on there, so we're all good there. I don't even have the thought. YouTube is really where I'm at. YouTube, I just think, is such a vital piece of information. You know, I've gotten, obviously we're talking about that slope idea, that hill that you're constantly fighting against. But the only thing is YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts, obviously it's basically just TikTok, but YouTube, you know, they all try and do the same dang thing to get you hooked and to get you constantly scrolling for hours so they can get you mummified. And so YouTube Shorts, occasionally I'll catch myself. Relatively recently it's been bad. I've just been letting myself go. But sometimes, a lot of the times I have to catch myself. I'm 2 reels in and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm scrolling. I need to stop. 2 or 3 reels in and I realize I'm looking for something entertaining. And I'm like, okay, well, this is not good. You know, so you have to kind of catch yourself. If you're going to do it like me, sometimes, I mean, if you're the type of person that can't even do that, then you got to delete YouTube. Like, it's just not, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, if you want to fix yourself and fix your brain and fix this reward system, you have to just delete YouTube. You have to sacrifice that pleasure from your life. I don't care if that means, like, it's just for the betterment of you as a person. Who cares? Safari, I realized even pushing it 2 pages away didn't help a lot. I knew it was there, so now I had to delete it. Unfortunately, you can't full on delete it, but I'm hoping that it'll help me to be better about that as well. I realize that I'm just needing to take more and more extreme steps until it finally works. Which, as of currently, I am 2 days clean. I plan on also using this to keep kind of a record of that. Plan on reading my Bible today. I'd say a big thing is checklists too. So everybody says don't look at your phone in the morning, which I can attest to say yes, that is true. Do not do that. When I wake up, at least now, I weigh myself, I go out to the kitchen, I take my Allegra, and I take Optimized Minerals. Optimized Minerals, I think, has helped me a lot too. That's a whole nother tangent. But Optimized Minerals, the way I understood it when he did his podcast with Higher Up Wellness with Michael, I pretty well remember him talking about cravings being a mineral deficiency, which I found when I was taking Optimized Minerals. I was less, is the right word, tempted to eat, you know, craving. I wasn't craving these hyper palatable foods. I mean, there was an aspect of the dopamine hit of eating these hyper palatable foods, but in a sense of hungriness, there wasn't a part of me that was craving any sort of chocolate or craving any sort of insert whatever food. But there wasn't a part of me that was, you know, super craving that item, and that helped me. I'd honestly attest to that helping me lose about 15 pounds just in the ability to help control my appetite. And not saying it's an appetite suppressant, I'm saying I'm mentally, whether that be also from the minerals, more aware and I was more easily able to focus and apply and do all these things that help me lose weight. And I can say that helped me as well. It's probably just a good thing for your mental health too. I know I don't have as many fluctuations in mood. I'm a relatively stable guy. I really don't know how much I can say, coming from a person out, I don't feel like it's a good testimony to how you are as a person. I feel like it's more from a outside view is a better way to describe you as a person, as somebody from the outside. But then I go and I brush my teeth. While I'm brushing my teeth, I get my meal prep out of the fridge. I get my yogurt. I get my minute rice. I do use minute rice just because I can't cook rice. It doesn't taste good. Heat it up for me. Just a weird little thing, and I deal with it. But I grab my minute rice, I grab my yogurt, I grab my meal preps, I grab my berries. I put those on the counter. I finish brushing my teeth. I then, I wake up, I apply my deodorant, get ready for the day, and then I get dressed. Pack up my lunch, take it out the door, and I let the car warm up and I leave. I might get on my phone, make sure I didn't get anything important overnight. Maybe check my Clash of Clans base, see what's happening, collect my gold, my elixir. Y'all know. And then I put on my music and I leave. I just start leaving. I drive to work. And you can see I pretty much never checked my phone. The only time I'd really check my phone is if and when I wake up, or when I wake up, check what time it is. Kind of keep myself in track, maybe. I would say it's pretty routine at this point. I don't really have too many stops. Sometimes I'll have stops where I might need to help my parents just stay at home and make sure my little brother's okay. But other than that, I pretty much never touch my phone. I put my music on, and I don't touch my phone for the whole drive to work. Get to work, and then that's where I really get on my phone. But that's about an hour deep into my day. I'm pretty much awake from there, and then I usually have to get to work. I'll eat, get to work, probably watch a YouTube video when I eat, and then that's it. Man, I don't even remember what I was talking about. I don't even remember the OG point of this. But I would have to agree that deleting Instagram, deleting TikTok is just a better thing for you. Deleting Facebook even, or Snapchat if for some reason you use that scrolling activity on there. I know Snapchat can be kind of weird, so yeah, man. Just cut it here, to be honest with you. I'm here. I'm about 40 minutes deep into this, so that's good. But I think depending on the day, it's going to be a chest or a back day. I'm going to see how busy it is for either machines. And if it's too busy for chest, I'll hit back. If it's relatively even, I'll kind of just toss it up in the air. But I'd like to hit chest today. So I'll catch y'all in there. Alright, y'all. Sorry. iPhone was about to die, so I only got like just a video of the first one, or the final set of my incline press. This one I'm about 2 sets deep. I tried 160. Only got it for like six solid ones, but dropped it back down. Got this for about 7 or 8 last time, so gonna shoot for about that. It's a good rep range I like. Yeah, man, going hard. Making sure you're slightly forward. Oh my frick. Whew. Oh my god. My phone's freaking good. Whew. Oh man. On an incline press. Incline machine press. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is the post chest day. Pump's pretty nice, I ain't gonna front. Sure, we'll get better at posing as the time goes on. Honestly, not too bad. But a big goal of mine, I have a pretty bad imbalance. It's hard to see, but I think at least. But it's right here on my upper left. It's kind of more underdeveloped. I don't know why. Probably just a lack of range of motion. But yeah, man, that'll also be a goal of mine. I'll probably get more visible as I get leaner. So, but yeah, that's one thing I'll be working towards. I really don't want to hit cardio right now. Phone's almost dead, so. But that's the plan. Catch y'all after. All right, we're back. What's up, guys? That was a good chest day. So I did hit a little bit of cardio. I won. Although this is a great point to my saying earlier, is that I really wanted to not hit cardio. I was actually really debating on giving myself the excuse of I hit cardio yesterday, so I'm going to take a little bit of an excuse. You know, it's the first day, second day, first day, I guess, technically on a workout. I'm sure, you know, I'll just reel it in. And I said to myself, do something, you know? I realized, how am I going to sit here and preach about at least doing something instead of nothing, and then go and do nothing? So I went ahead and I hit 10 minutes of cardio. Nothing crazy. Phone got to 1%. I was watching a creator I really like, Eric Evans. And he brought up a great point of winning the day. And I realized that reinforced my decision, my dopamine, I would say that brought me a sense of pride in just the fact that I committed and I told myself I'm going to do this cardio, and I did it, you know. I mean, it's what I should be doing, but that's a huge step for me, and I kept that promise to myself. I didn't let myself lie. I didn't lie to myself. So, one step every day. You just got to improve. You just got to win the day. I think that's going to be a new phrase for me. Just got to win the day. Hey, yeah, guys, I think I'm going to grab some dinner. Probably get some Chick-fil-A. Usually get some tenders. Usually run to about 80 grams of protein in total. I just get the tenders, and I should be under my calorie goal, so should be losing weight. I forgot to mention I did wake up at about 247.8 was my weight today, straight out the bed. So I've been as low, I think I ended Friday off at about 246. So I gained a little bit of weight over the weekend, but I gotta reel it in. I realized that too. I gotta reel in my weekends. My weekends are a real big rough point for me, so I'll be working on that here in the future. But yeah, man, I mean, just want to leave that with y'all. You know, just win the day. You know, it may not be exactly what you wanted, but you won, if that makes sense. I didn't want to do only 10 minutes of cardio, but I also didn't want to do any cardio at all. And I didn't let myself leave without doing cardio. And, oh man, it's late. It's 7:45. One thing I like about this whole high intensity, low reps is that I get a pretty good amount of time in the gym, but I also get, I'm not in there for an excessive amount of time, you know, it's a reasonable amount of time. So it's one great thing as well. I can't remember if I explained it, but the no caffeine, yes I did, remembering now, the no caffeine pre-workout. Yeah, man, I think I gotta run through my calories for today. I know with all the stuff that I meal prep, it's about 870 calories. Or no, sorry, that might be about 1,000 calories, somewhere in there, about 87 grams of protein. So I have some wiggle room with that. I did have Starbucks this morning. I don't know if that tells you anything. I really gotta. It's unfortunately how I start my day. This isn't a very conventional diet. But I am losing weight on it. I'm eating about 200 grams of protein a day. I think about 2,400, 2,500 calories. Yeah, man, I had a good workout. I think I improved today. 1% better every day. Chest workout. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to record everything. My phone is just on a low percent. I didn't get this whole video thing figured out, so I guess my phone wasn't charging while I was recording the first part of this. But now it is charging. So I did first couple sets, I did a couple warm-up sets, 50% of my max. And then first real set was 85s on the dumbbell press incline for about 7 or 8. Second set was 90s for about 6. That was a grinder 5 reps with a grinder 6. So we went to failure on that. Second set of sets, or second exercise, sorry, I had chest flies. I hit about 3 sets of that. First set was 145 for 8 to 10. Second set was, I believe, 160. Only hit about 6 on that. And then I dropped it back down to 145 for a better squeeze and overall actuation. I do have some instability problems with my left chest, or my left shoulder, which I think is why I have that instability, or that imperfection or unevenness in my chest. Real quick, I'm gonna grab my food. I'll be right back. Catch y'all. And we got it. Got our chicken strips. Got the package. Couple things, trying to think of another thing I'd like to go on. But I would say I'm pretty happy with today. You know? Oh yeah, exercises. Here we go. I remember now. So I hit my chest flies, 145, 160, 145. Brother? Okay, there we go. And then I hit incline chest press with 2 plates for somewhere in the 8 to 10 rep range, or 6 to 10 rep range. Kind of was a blur. I think it was like 8 or 9. And then I hit 2 plates in 10 for 6 or 7. At least 6, probably around 7 or 8. Finally, I hit a flat machine press. Oh, thank you. Appreciate you. Flat machine press I tried 2 plates off the rip. Man, was it heavy. Dropped it down to a plate and a half, plate and a quarter. And felt pretty good. And then I was like, okay, went to failure on that. I think about 8-ish reps, 8 to 10-ish reps. And then I went back up to 2 plates because I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do, I don't want to just put a 10 on there. I was like, screw it, I'm going to just put 2 plates back on that thing. Put 2 plates back on. Did about 6 reps, so I hit that maximum. Hit that to failure, pressed as hard as I could. I think I hit actually 7. Apologies, I forgot the light go back on. Said about 6 or 7, so overall pretty good chest workout. Pumped up like crazy. I finally got some pre-workout again. Been about a week short of pre-workout, and it just feels great to be back on it, honestly. I'm pretty loaded into my creatine as well. Probably about a week in, so I only do 5 grams. I don't really see the point of doing the whole loading phase thing, plus half the time I forget to take it. Thankfully, I've been a little more on my butt about it, taking it. I have creatine at home now. I used to not have creatine at home, and I only had creatine at work. I mean, you spend 5 days a week at work, you just don't even think about it. So now I have it. So I think that's been helping. Carb positioning in my diet and my day has also been helping my workouts. But yeah, man, I think this is day 1, so I'm gonna start trying to improve a lot of things. I think tonight some of my boys want to hop on Battlefield 6. I gotta edit this video and post it because this is day 1. I'm trying to get it, or probably not. I mean, I don't really have anything to edit. This is mainly just an us talking thing, but edit, post it, day 1 or day 2. Sorry. So I'm gonna go home, do that, make sure I read my Bible tonight. Probably gonna keep it in a place that I'm gonna talk about these every day. How many, I'm hoping to have it relevant to the streak. I did just realize that, oh my gosh, there's a freaking dog running in the middle of the road. Watch out, homie. Oh my goodness. Get on the sidewalk. I'm going to try and keep it. I just realized I did not read my Bible last night, which is not a good sign. But we will read tonight as well. Probably try and read a chapter. I do have a couple self-help books, self-improvement books, so I'm going to do that and see if I can pull any information from those. Watch a couple bits of content while I put this video together. Hey man, this is day 2. I'm ready. I can't wait to see where I'm at 100 days consistent to this. The only thing I can really lay out otherwise is I went over my weight, went over my workout. So my workout days are typically Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. I used to not work out on Fridays. I'm going to start working out on Fridays. Saturdays, I usually work out. Sometimes I can say that after Saturdays, sometimes I work Saturdays. So I end up not working out after that. My goal is to start working out at Saturdays as well. Main rest days are going to be Wednesday and Sunday. Wednesday and Sunday. Wednesday night I have church. Sunday night I have church. Obviously, you know, those kind of, you know, fall on the same day. I think it's okay. Might do active rest days. We'll kind of feel it out. You know, I don't have a dedicated core day, so I'm sure my active rest days will be somewhere around that. I realize this is not a great idea with this hat and this light, but hey, you know, it is what it is. But I think that's all she wrote. This is day 2. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I hope y'all have a blessed day, and I hope y'all win. Have a good night.